The early morning fog covers Elliott Bay. The water surface is calm like a giant black mirror signaling bad omens. Thousands of dead fish float belly up near the rocky shore, their eyes wide open as if seeing something terrible. The coffee cup on the table shakes violently, small ripples spreading continuously as the ground begins to groan in pain. A Caucasian man freezes looking out the window. His smile vanishes as he sees the city skyline tilting excessively. The Space Needle shakes violently. The load-bearing steel bars groan and bend like weak ropes under immense geological pressure. Windows of skyscrapers shatter simultaneously. A rain of sharp glass falls onto the streets below like a deadly waterfall. The asphalt road cracks open, creating deep abysses, swallowing cars that are desperately trying to escape the crumbling city. From the distant ocean, a wall of black water tens of meters high rushes shoreward at supersonic destructive speed. The Seattle Great Wheel is thrown off its axis by the tsunami, rolling freely and crushing everything in its path. Turbid floodwaters sweep away city buses, turning the streets into deadly rushing rivers full of debris and floating cars. The fatal moment arrives. The Space Needle's top breaks off, plunging into the city center, creating a massive dust explosion. The crowd of people screams in panic, pushing each other to run to higher ground in utter and total desperation. The camera shifts underwater, where traffic signs and streetlights still flicker eerily in the murky depths of the flooded city. From above, Seattle is no longer a tech city, but a desolate archipelago amidst a vast and endless ocean. An Asian woman holds her child tightly, her face covered in mud, her eyes looking vacant and completely hopeless. Night falls, but the city is not dark, instead glowing with massive fires spreading across the surface of the water. A geological map appears with the Cascadia fault line glowing red like a deadly scar running along the west coast. Seismic sound waves radiate from the epicenter, illustrating the unstoppable and devastating power of nature against human fragile civilization. The text, "The Doomsday of Seattle," appears on a black screen, accompanied by the sound of urgent emergency sirens wailing. The screen goes black abruptly, leaving absolute silence before the story of total destruction officially begins for the audience. 3 hours before the fatal moment, Seattle bathes in the golden sunlight of a calm autumn morning. At the busy Seattle port, giant cranes tirelessly unload cargo, workers unaware of the impending disaster approaching. Deep beneath the ocean floor, tectonic pressure accumulated over 3 centuries is reaching its final breaking point. At Woodland Park Zoo, the Asian elephant herd suddenly becomes agitated, constantly banging trunks against steel barriers. Sumatran tigers growl deep in their throats, pacing back and forth in cages with wild, anxious eyes. The sky darkens as thousands of seagulls fly erratically without direction, creating thick, ominous black clouds above. At the Washington coast, seawater suddenly recedes kilometers from shore, revealing the naked, muddy, foul seabed floor. Rotten shipwrecks from the last century suddenly rise from the water, returning like ghosts seeking revenge now. An old fisherman squints at the horizon, horrified to realize a deadly silence covering the entire ocean. In the geology lab, the seismograph needle begins to dance madly, drawing deadly zigzag lines on paper. An Asian geologist stares at the glowing red screen, sweat on his forehead, realizing the big one is here. Above ground, people rush back and forth, vibrant music from cafes drowning out the Earth's groaning sounds. At a construction site, engineers are puzzled, seeing white, frothy groundwater surging up from foundation pits rapidly. Increasing underground pressure causes a main water pipe to burst, shooting a high water column into traffic. In residential areas, dogs bark simultaneously, scratching at doors as if wanting to escape the house immediately. Terrified cats hide under beds, their pupils dilated, fully reflecting the primal fear inherent in all animals. In a 50th floor office, a female employee feels slightly dizzy. The water cup on the desk creates ripples. P waves, primary waves moving at the speed of sound, silently creep through the rigid crust of Earth. Shake alert early warning system sends a red signal, but messages reach phones only seconds before the disaster. Multiple phone screens light up simultaneously with earthquake. Take shelter now, causing widespread shock and confusion immediately. From above, the city looks fragile, like a toy model placed on the back of a waking monster. Evergreen Point Bridge is packed with traffic. Drivers start feeling steering wheels shake violently and uncontrollably now. 2 tectonic plates collide. Extreme friction melts rock and soil, creating a hellish furnace deep down below. Suddenly, all sounds of nature cease. Wind stops, leaves stop falling, a silence signaling death approaches rapidly. A small crack appears on the concrete sidewalk, quickly spreading like a spider web, splitting the road immediately. High-rise buildings start swaying gently like giant clock pendulums, the sound of glass clinking against each other. Pedestrians stop looking up at tilting towers. Smiles on their faces vanish, replaced by sheer horror instantly. The ground beneath them starts softening like liquid mud. Groundwater spraying up through sidewalk pavement cracks violently. The official impact occurs. The ground is thrown up, knocking everyone down like rag dolls on streets. The city grid overloads and explodes, sparks flying everywhere, signaling the end of modern civilization as known. The magnitude 9.2 earthquake strikes officially, the ground undulating like giant ocean waves made of concrete. Pioneer Square collapses instantly. Old brick buildings crumbling into red dust, burying all life underneath them immediately. The ground undergoes liquefaction, swallowing entire cars and trees into the deep, mushy mud pit below instantly. The Space Needle groans miserably, its load-bearing steel legs twisted beyond limits and beginning to snap violently now. Symbolic collapse moment. The saucer top breaks off, plummeting freely into the city center like a meteorite. A massive concrete dust cloud erupts from impact, swallowing neighboring buildings in total darkness and choking debris. Alaskan Way Viaduct is torn apart, dozens of cars falling onto the road below, creating chaotic scrap piles. Underground gas pipelines rupture, causing a series of chain explosions, incinerating whatever is left of the ruins. A Caucasian man tries clinging to a lamppost, his face distorted because the seismic force is too strong. At the harbor, the sea suddenly swells. A 30-meter black wall of water appears, blocking the view. The monster wave hits with 1,000-ton power, crushing the great wheel into twisted scraps of metal instantly. Giant ferries are lifted into the air by waves and thrown violently into coastal skyscrapers like toys. Black water carrying shipwrecks, containers, and cars rushes into the streets like a herd of wild beasts. Lumenfield turns into a giant water tank, the dome torn apart by water pressure and collapsing. The subway system floods instantly, floodwaters chasing a train stuck in the tunnel with terrifying speed and force. An Asian woman running upstairs looks back at the rising water, swallowing each step rapidly behind her. The 520 floating bridge on Lake Washington breaks in half, bridge sections drifting freely and colliding together violent. Thousands of cars float bobbing on black water, crashing into buildings, creating eerie metallic sounds echoing continuously. Amazon spheres with glass sphere architecture shatter underwater pressure, plants inside drifting out into the open flood. A fuel tanker swept away by waves hits a transformer, causing a massive mushroom fire explosion on water. Fire and water merge. Rivers of fire burn brightly on floodwaters rushing through the gaps between buildings. Skyscrapers turn into lonely islands. Survivors crowded on rooftops, waving hands desperately for rescue that isn't coming. A European doctor looks through a shattered hospital window, helplessly watching an ambulance being swept away by currents. Camera zooms in on murky water, where fragments of daily life float past. Teddy bears, wedding photos, shoes. Seattle Central Library, with unique steel mesh architecture, is distorted, books floating aimlessly, creating a tragic scene. A tower crane snaps and hangs precariously over an apartment building roof, threatening to fall at any moment. The sound of destruction, metal groaning, water growling, and helicopters blending together into a terrifying cacophony of noise. Water levels continue rising, submerging the famous Pike Place market sign, leaving only neon lights flickering underwater. A group of Asian and European people pull a man onto a roof, showing humanity amidst the disaster. The glass panels of Columbia Center reflect the hellish scene below. The city has disappeared completely from sight. Seagulls return, soaring in the gray sky, crying mournfully as if weeping for the fallen dead city. A giant container ship runs aground in the central intersection, blocking the road like a massive steel wall. Storm winds begin to rise, carrying dust and ash, forming small tornadoes on the polluted water surface. Black smoke columns from oil fires rise high, mixing with storm clouds, creating toxic black rain falling. A soaking wet golden retriever shivers on a drifting plank, looking around for its owner in vain. Boeing aircraft debris from a nearby factory drifts downtown, wings sticking up like shark fins in water. The sun sets behind thick smoke, dyeing the sky blood red, signaling a long dark night ahead. Flickering flashlight beams from standing buildings begin to blink, weak distress signals from humanity in the darkness. Satellite view of Seattle. A large brown and black scar has completely erased the city's green color. Night falls. Without electricity, the city is lit only by patchy oil fires spreading on the black water. Broken bridges form giant trash dams, where thousands of car wrecks and rotting wood pile up massively. On remaining high grounds, crowds huddle together in cold rain, eyes wandering vacantly searching for lost relatives. Hospitals are overwhelmed, hallways flooded. Doctors use flashlights to operate under terrible sanitary conditions and extreme pressure. Supermarket windows are smashed. Desperate people fight over every bottle of clean water and canned food supplies. Underground data centers breached by salt water. Servers explode, wiping out billions of important data files instantly forever. On Wall Street, electronic boards glow red. Investors panic as the technology valley collapses into total ruin. Rescue helicopters circle the sky but cannot land because storm winds and thick smoke are too dangerous. On an office rooftop, employees burn documents to keep warm in the bone-chilling cold of the night. Floating chemical drums rupture, dyeing the water with toxic-colored patches shimmering under the dim moonlight glow. A soldier tries using a radio but receives only static noise and terrifying silence from the headquarters. Thousands of sewer rats scurry across dry concrete patches, signaling the imminent risk of disease outbreaks spreading. Highways leading out of the city are severed, turning Seattle into a giant, inescapable water prison island. An Asian man sits in mud, clutching a child's shoe, his shoulders shaking with uncontrollable sobbing grief. T-Mobile Park Baseball Stadium becomes a makeshift refugee camp, thousands of people lying exhausted on the stands. Firefighters watch flames consume a historic building, their hoses having run dry of water a long time ago. In dark alleys, shadows move fast accompanied by screams as law and order have completely vanished here. International news channels simultaneously report the disaster, calling it the darkest day in American history ever recorded. The moon appears behind storm clouds, casting cold light on the dead city, highlighting the utter desolation. A distant ship horn sounds, but it is not rescue, it is the cry of a sinking ship. Sunrise illuminates the ruins, exposing the unimaginable scale of destruction as the light reveals the fallen city clearly. Layers of toxic mud cover everything, turning the vibrant high-tech metropolis into a silent, gray, and suffocating graveyard. The ruins of the Space Needle lie amidst the rubble, a fallen symbol of human arrogance and pride. Survivors emerge from shelters, their faces gaunt and tired, but their eyes spark with a faint living hope. A child finds a small flower growing from concrete cracks, a testament to the intense vitality of life. Military convoys and heavy machinery begin to enter, marking the start of a decades-long reconstruction effort ahead. Nature is not cruel. It simply follows the cold movement laws of the Earth's crust over billions of years. This disaster is a costly warning. We are merely temporary guests living on this volatile and shifting planet. Though buried, Seattle will rise again, for human will is stronger than any stone found on this earth.